Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry is a small group with a big voice.
No justice, no peace.
Often using children of inmates.
Who do we want justice for? Peter!
Pleading for prison and parole reform.
Who do we want justice for? John!
The founder of the group is this man, James Kronenberger. Over the past few years, Kronenberger's been pictured with lots of powerful politicians and leaders, from the mayor of Columbus to state lawmakers, even the head of Ohio's prison system. He lobbies them all to get inmates early parole, or as he and his group call it, a second chance. He's even convinced lawmakers to draft a bill to do just that. It's something he claims he never got.
I was incarcerated for 25 years. So I know the system. It wasn't as bad as it is today.
The whole purpose of your group is second chance, right?
Right.
The group's president, Gina Mikulas, echoed Kronenberger's words, with one qualification. What if they blow the second chance?
Lock him up for life.
While Kronenberger talks a lot about being in prison, he seldom talks about the crimes that sent him there.
I know a little bit about it.
In a click, I found Kronenberger on the Ohio Attorney General's website, listed as a registered sexual predator, the most serious kind of sex offender. And the victims are juveniles, children. That was a surprise to the group's president.
You didn't know there were
children?
No.
You didn't know it was
sexual
offenses? No. But it was no surprise to Kronenberger. You are a sexual predator.
Right.
With a child spec.
Right.
The details of his crimes are much harder to get. They're in these court documents I obtained, describing details of cases where Kronenberger pleaded guilty to disturbing crimes, cases he now admits he kept secret, even from members of his own group. In 1987, Kronenberger, who was an auxiliary policeman at the time, pleaded guilty to 5 counts of child enticement. Police reports state Kronenberger admitted he exposed himself to young children, both male and female, approximately 25 times. The victims were as young as 8, 7, and 6 years old. Kronenberger did get a second chance, probation. But in 1993, he was sent to prison for 2 counts of attempted kidnapping with the purpose of engaging in sexual activity. The victims were 7 and 10 years old. That was followed by yet another second chance, probation again. In 2003, he violated that probation and was convicted of 2 counts of harassing children over the phone. One victim was a 5-year-old boy. In Kronenberger's case, second chances created more victims.
How can you possibly talk about a second chance when personally you were given a second and third chance and you blew it each time?
Right.
How can you push for that today?
Because people can't change.
Kronenberger claims he's a recovering sexual addict.
And if you're an addict to that sexual predilection, you don't get over that either,
Right.
if you're being honest.
Right.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I just don't dwell on it or anything and take
You
it.
still have those thoughts that
I
come
never
through.
thought of it, but probably I do.
Yet Kronenberger continues to be surrounded by young children, and he admits he never told their parents, nor members of his own group, about what he really did.
Nobody asked. I tell people I was in prison.
Why wouldn't you tell everyone if you're nothing to hide?
I don't know. I just never thought of it.
Now Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry's president has plenty to think about after I uncovered the real record of her group's founder.
I am very shocked. Like I said, as far as I knew about the kidnapping, but I didn't know the extent of it. It kind of damages the whole entire mission and cause that we have.
You're going to get rid of him?
We have to.
But Kronenberger was not removed. Members of his group tell me they met and decided to keep him, but drastically limit his role. Tomorrow, I go one-on-one with the state representative from Mount Lookout, who not only met with Kronenberger, but admits Kronenberger and his group actually helped him draft his prison reform bill, which leads to a big question. Is anyone at the State House checking backgrounds? I'm Dwayne Pullman. I'll see you back here on Local 12 News tomorrow at 6.
And if you want to see Dwayne's full interview with James Kronenberger, you can go to local12.com and click on Local 12 Investigates. You can also read all those criminal records that we uncovered.
All right. James Kronenberger had a long history of disturbing crimes against children, but state lawmakers tell me they never knew that when they met with him. While many details of Kronenberger's crimes were hidden, some of that information was just a click away on Google. Now, a state lawmaker from Mount Lookout, who worked with Kronenberger's group to write this prison and parole reform bill, is asking whether he needs to find out more about who he's inviting into his office. Were you aware of his past?
No, I was not.
State Representative Tom Brinkman, a Republican from Mount Lookout, told me he didn't know that man pictured with him, James Kronenberger, is a registered sexual predator convicted of multiple sex crimes against young children.
If I would have known the information, things would have been a little bit different.
Kronenberger met with Representative Brinkman more than once, and Kronenberger's group, Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry, helped Brinkman's staff draft this proposed law to allow nonviolent offenders to avoid prison and help reform Ohio's system of parole and probation. So he gave you ideas on where the reform was needed?
Correct.
Kronenberger was pictured with lots of state lawmakers, pushing to give inmates a second chance. How often do you guys come down here to work with lawmakers?
I come down usually between 2 and 3 times a week.
When I confronted Kronenberger 2 weeks ago about his criminal record, he admitted he didn't divulge any of it to lawmakers. Why wouldn't you tell everyone if you're nothing to hide?
I don't know, I just never thought of it.
Kronenberger's crimes ranged from enticement and harassment to attempted kidnapping, and he kept all of it a secret. As he pushed for second chances, he failed to tell lawmakers he was placed on probation twice, violating both times. Why wouldn't you tell them this?
Nobody asked.
That includes Representative Brinkman, who admits there was no vetting of Kronenberger. Was any done?
None was done at all.
The staff never Googled him.
No.
It's terrifying.
Brett Van Oker is the president of Block Parole, an organization dedicated to keeping violent offenders in prison for their maximum sentences. He says he's stunned that no one checked Kronenberger's background.
You would think that members of the legislature who are working with people would vet them. The whole bill is tainted.
And we're getting recommendations.
Representative Brinkman insists the reforms in his bill are still needed, but says my investigation has prompted him to begin asking how to check backgrounds before people like Kronenberger come into the picture.
But I wish I would have known who I was dealing with. There's no question about that.
Representative Brinkman tells me he'd like to keep his open door policy, but says he's asked the legislature's Human Resource Office to find out whether background checks can be done before someone like Kronenberger meets with him and other lawmakers. I'll let you know what happens next. I'm Dwayne Pullman, Local 12 News.